Now, we've spoken about the parents who are forward thinking and who are saving when they're pregnant or when their child is born. Is it too late for the parent whose child has started grade 1 today in coastal schools to start saving for this child's education?
I don't think so. I think it's more challenging, obviously, and there are different levers that you can pull. The one lever is starting to save early, but if you've sort of missed that, then what that means, the effect of that is that you have to either save more or you have to get a higher return, which means take on more risk in your portfolio. So there are things that you can do to try and mitigate the fact that you started saving a bit late.
Now, it must seem daunting to many parents to have to save a sum of 1 million rand if you want to send your child to what was formerly known as a Model C school to get them from grade 1 through to university, to their first bachelor's degree. Or if you want to go the private schooling route, you're looking at 2.5 million rand. That's a lot of money. What do you say to parents who are sitting at the beginning of this process and need to somehow make that million or 2.5 million by the time their child starts school?
I think people underestimate the benefits of compounding interest, and maybe just to explain that in simple terms, it's really just when you invest, you get interest, and the following year you then get growth on that interest portion as well. It's a commonly misunderstood term. It really, you can start with a small amount, and as it grows, the compounding effect gets bigger and bigger. So that's one thing is really, even if you don't get discouraged if you see that big amount, even if you take a small amount and you start saving and you get compound interest, and there's some other things that you put in place as well, which we can talk about in a second, but just make sure you start saving as much as you possibly can. I think the other thing, some of the things that I was mentioning now that we need to think carefully about is when we actually invest, there are different things that affect the return that we're going to get. The one is obviously the product. So we've spoken about investing directly in unit trusts and the endowment policy. The second one is then the fees that we pay within those products. And that's a very important element, because the difference between paying 2% for an investment and paying 4% on an investment over a long period of time is very, very significant. And often people that don't deal with financial instruments, they don't realize the difference a percent can make to the end value. So that's something that we need to keep a keen eye on when we're constructing those portfolios, to make sure that we're getting the most out of our investments. Unfortunately, what we see is when people do save, they put all their money in a money market. And you're just not going to get there in the money market. That's, unfortunately, you won't make it, because even as we speak today, okay, inflation's coming down, it's below 6%, but your money market rates are at 5%. So if we're saying we need 10%, we actually need inflation plus 4%. And the only way that we can get that is by putting more aggressive, riskier assets into the portfolio, like shares. So it's a difficult thing for people to deal with, because on the one side it's risky, but actually over the long term you have to do it, number one, and secondly, over the longer term your shares are a lot less risky.